think I've ended up being the authority figure for like 8 different companies. I had the opportunity to start working with a company called Pro Wrestling UnPlugged that ran in Philadelphia. For me, that was like my first like really big promotion. I want something that just keeps up an energy that has like keeps your visual attention. I had to come up with a lot of stuff myself on the marketing. Drew Gulak has just always been a super intelligent person to talk with. Before the unit became a thing, a group called Revelation was a thing. It was me, JT, a tag team of Tyler Matrix and James Logan. Occasionally we had some other plugins. That first show is what became Camp Leapfrog, and it was so much fun. He says, hey, I want to talk to you. I'm thinking of starting up this show called Wrestling Revolver, and I really want you to be a part of it. There are many times he becomes Sami Callihan, and there's times I really want to punch Sami Callihan in the face. I had a doctor misdiagnose me with a precancerous condition.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm pumped for this one. Phil Stanford, man, thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I remember we scheduled this like a month ago, and then out of nowhere, I got a text. I felt bad. I had plans. I would have canceled them if I knew we were doing it then. But thank you, man.
No, it's all good. And, you know, my idiot brain thought
don't worry about it.
It was July 22nd, not August 22nd.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this, man. Now, obviously, I see the passion for pro wrestling throughout the years, but I'm curious for you. What was it about wrestling that made you want to be involved with it?
I mean, I was a fan as a kid,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm trying to even remember, like, what was it that even attracted it to me? Because I remember as a young kid, I came across it one time, and I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was probably like 11, and I came back into it, and I was like, wow, I really like this. And like, I would come home from school, and on ESPN Classic were these old episodes of, like, world-class championship wrestling and USWF and Global, and I was like, wow, I'm into this too, and WCW and WWF. And so there was I don't know, I just became sort of a fan and latched onto it. And enough where I was that kid that wrote in saying, how can kids wrestle?
Yeah.
To then being told, you have to go to training and there's an appropriate way to do this. And it was like, okay, cool. Like I got a letter back, got 2 letters back.
People don't even get those sometimes.
Yeah. WWE didn't write me back.
Yeah.
WCW wrote me back twice.
Nice.
But half the letter was also a solicitation for a book they were selling.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
yeah.
find out about all these places you can go to train to wrestle.
Yeah. Who was like your guy for wrestling? Like, who's your favorite?
Ooh, I rotate.
Okay.
I rotate a bit. You know, as a kid, I was the very staple, like, look at Hulk Hogan, look at Bruce the Barber Beefcake. Like, those were my favorites. Sting was probably a very young favorite as well. And then as I've gotten older, you know, I find more people that I think like I like that style of wrestling and physically how I am or was in the ring. And so like I look at like a Dean Malenko. I loved Sean Waltman when he was Lightning Kid in Global.
Wow, yeah.
Like his stuff. Reckless Youth, who was big no name in the independent circuit.
Love it.
In the 2000s. Like, oh my God, like he was the best.
Yeah.
To today where it's like I look at the field of wrestling and I'm like, who entertains me, who grabs my attention, and Zack Sabre Jr. is that guy.
Nice.
And it's like he can talk the game, he can wrestle, he's smart. And then I realized, you know, I've never actually worked any events with him ever. That's probably another reason why I also like him.
Wow. When you look at your career, so you go from writing in how to do pro wrestling, getting some responses, what is your steps? How young are you when you started to get involved in wrestling?
I had just finished high school. I was still a teenager. I had graduated a little early, and knew for me, my next path was wherever I went, I had to pay for it myself. So I knew you had to go to training, and I was like, well, I don't have money for both college and training. And so I went to college, but I started working backstage for companies. And then by happenstance, it was sort of an unfortunate and then very fortunate. I had a doctor misdiagnose me with a precancerous condition. And so in my brain, I was like, well, I'm going to develop cancer. I need to go to train now. And jumped into training. And a month into training, the doctor was like, oh, I was wrong. And the pathology came back and everything. You're not fine, but like you're not as bad as we thought you were. So So by that point, a couple years after working in the back, I started actually getting trained.
Nice.
And it kind of went on from there.
Is that like even legal for a doctor to misdiagnose something like that?
So, well, he also then tried to deny. I was being
Ah,
nice. He had tried to deny he had
yeah,
ever said anything.
yeah.
But in recovery, my mom is a nurse,
Okay.
and she asked me very specific questions like, "What does this mean? What does that mean?" And I knew it, and I was like, "Yeah, this means Barrett's esophagus is a precancerous condition. It leads to cancer because once your body starts adapting to the cell change, it doesn't stop changing."
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like, okay, so we just have to get ready for whatever's going to come next. And then I would call him and like, when are we going to talk about this? What's the next steps? And I get nothing.
Hmm.
And it's like, what? This is weird.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, like a month, probably even, it might have even been 2 months into training. I finally got him on the phone and he's like, the pathology came back. I never said you had Barrett's. Um, I never said that at all. The pathology came back, says you have nothing. I have no idea where you got this from. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, the next time you come in, we'll talk more about it. I was like, you're never going to see me again.
So I'm curious for you when you look at your career, whether it was in the ring or out, what would you say is like your first big opportunity in wrestling?
Ooh. Um, I had the opportunity to start working with a company called Pro Wrestling UnPlugged that ran in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like my first like really big promotion.
Yeah.
It was running at the time at the ECW arena. They were drawing, like, if you want to talk about like an amazing time in wrestling, like they were drawing 600, 800,000 person. The largest crowd we ever had was a 1,500 person crowd
Wow.
at the ECW arena. And like
Yeah.
my brain's like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Um, and like those were just amazing times. I got to work with. That was the first place that had like a regular influx of known names, both in the indies and had left WWE and were on the indie circuit. And I feel like I learned a lot really
Yeah.
fast.
Nice.
And saw a new level of wrestling, and it was like this is just really awesome.
What did you do with PWU at first?
I when I first got there, I wrestled.
Okay.
And then I at the same time I'd started to help with some of their marketing. By the end of it, I was doing their marketing, their social media. I was on commentary. Um, and I think at one point I might have been an authority figure, but then
Nice.
they closed shortly thereafter. So
Okay. I'm curious for you because you've performed for both PWU and SPO. Is there a difference you think in the locker rooms? Obviously, both owned by Kashmir, and a lot of the old, but a lot of the new too. So, is there a difference you think the locker rooms or something that stands out about PWU compared to SPO?
it's what's interesting is so Pro Wrestling Unplugged in the day,
Yeah.
and we're talking when I say in the day, we're talking like 2006 ish.
Yeah. I was just born. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
was a different kind of animal than what it has transpired into now. So
Mhm.
Pro Wrestling Unplugged left us in like let's say 2010, 2011, and SPO Wrestling started back up just a year and a half ago,
Mhm.
and so it was very different. It was very smaller group, a mix of some new folks with some old faces, I shouldn't say old, just more
Yeah.
experienced faces. And now, after having this first year of success, Kashmir took a look back and was like, "Why aren't we doing PWU?
Yeah.
Why aren't we trying to raise to that kind of caliber of event again?"
Mhm.
And so he spent a lot of time now, sort of remanufacturing what should this look like.
Mhm.
And so now, PWU is relaunching on September 20th,
Yeah.
out of their new training school up in Mount Holly, New Jersey. So
Nice.
I think Pro Wrestling Unplugged making a return. Uh, I will say I've had conversations with so many people who always bring up like the Crazy Eight
Yeah.
whenever the Pro Wrestling Unplugged comes up, and
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, you had for those of you who don't know what Crazy Eight was, so you had cage panels on
Mhm.
part of the ring and on the floor. You had ring ropes that were also hanging from the rafters of the ECW arena. You had these little mini trampolines
Yeah.
in a match that had Too Cold Scorpio, Devin Moore, a cruiserweight wrestler named Detox, and just so high flying, very
Mhm.
fast moving. And the cage panels just weren't vertical. Some of them were also horizontal,
Yeah.
and so people were jumping off stuff. So it was very high paced, very different, very unique at the time. It wasn't like other cage matches.
Yeah.
You were doing more and different kinds of things were happening in the ring than you would normally see in a cage match. So it drew in your attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was neat. And so I think there's that thought of, can we get there?
Mhm.
I think I'm, I'm putting the cart a little bit in front of the horse because I think in our minds it's like we want to, but we also don't want to be the pastiche. We don't want to be
Right.
like, well, we're trying.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite match from PWU before?
Ooh, ooh. Um,
Because now Cashmere's starting to bring out a lot of these files.
yeah, that is true. I mean, man, that's a really hard question because there were many really good matches.
Yeah.
The most memorable one that I can think of right off the top is there was PWU versus Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
And there was a match that it was a 4-on-4 cage match. And as you got eliminated, you were handcuffed to the cage. It was called Cuffed and Caged.
Okay.
And like just because of the everything that went into that match,
Yeah.
the spectacle of it, and it's like here's Insane Clown Posse, and here's the Backseat Boys, and so there was a lot of really interesting characters in the match, and the match just was exciting from start to finish, and really just kept up that excitement. And
Nice.
I remember that match almost more clearly than anything else that ever happened at PW.
Nice. When you talk your career, obviously pro wrestling, you said something you wanted to do, you wrote in. But I'm curious for you, when you look at Phil Stamper, what was like the inspiration for in the ring and how you presented yourself?
So I will say,
Yeah.
I'll probably speak a little bit ill of my trainer at the time. I felt, I was getting a good basic. I felt like, I need something else. And I had my first match. It went okay. It was going into my second match, and it was like, I don't have like a persona. I'm just out here wrestling.
Yeah.
What's going on? And so I was like, maybe I need to be a little bit more punk, a little bit more, just off the cuff. And I was like, well, what can I do? And at the time, like when I started, I'm 5'7".
Yeah.
And so I was still really short compared to most everybody there. And it was like, how do I stand out? And it was like, well, I have legitimate grappling experience. By that point, I had done judo and jujitsu and amateur wrestling. So it was like, what is it that I can do to stand out?
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, what if I incorporate in moments in the match different grappling things? And I got to work it with that second person. And I remember getting done with the match and my trainer being like, I never taught you these things.
Wow.
I was like, well, yeah, we had to figure out something. And I knew this from here. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Keep it. And I was like, all right, great.
Yeah. When you talk inspiration, what about Nate Stein? Where does this come from?
Oh, Lord. So early on in my wrestling life, I hurt my neck. I was in college, and I went to a school called Frostburg State University. It's in the mountains. It's the next to last day of the fall semester, and there was ice everywhere. And I'm in the parking lot, and I slipped and hit the back of my head on ice and screwed up my neck. And so it was like for 6 months, I really couldn't do anything. And I was like, well, I want to stay involved. I want to do stuff. I'll write. And when I say write, it was like I wasn't writing opinion pieces. I wasn't writing scandalous things. I was like, here's upcoming shows. Here's the results. And it was for like my local area. And what I realized and heard very early on, because I saw some other people's experiences, was if you wrote under your own name, even if it was just event results, you got a lot of heat for it because of the thought you were spoiling something from the back of the locker room.
Okay.
And it was like, well, I'm not doing that. So I used Nate Stein as a name, who was just doing marketing, who was just like, here's results, here's upcoming events. And so when I first started at Pro Wrestling UnPlugged, I got introduced as Nate Stein. And it was like, okay. And so it was really weird for a while.
Yeah.
Anybody who I worked with wrestling wise north of the Mason-Dixon line knew me as Nate Stein. Everybody else knew me as Phil Stamper.
Wow.
Up to the point where I worked through CZW, and people knew me there as Philip, but Nate was still there and present.
Okay.
And that led to some humorous moments when people realized I was both people. And at one point I was like, no, I want to be me. Like, Nate's a sideline guy. Nate's this person in the back that no one ever sees.
Nice.
Nate can go be buried in a desert somewhere.
Yeah.
Phil Stamper needs to be here.
Nice. When you talk Phil Stamper, who thought of the president for the nickname?
It was funny. I was thinking of it, and I'm trying to remember what truly inspired it. But I remember just sort of thinking like, well, what stands out? And this was at a time I knew I had something wrong with my neck, and didn't quite know exactly how bad it was. But I mean, it was shooting nerve pain down my arm, and I didn't trust myself to be in a ring sometimes. And so I was wrestling, and I had used I was like, I need to be a leader and authority.
Yeah.
And it was like in my brain, I was like, well, who's the biggest authority in wrestling right now? And I was like, look at Triple H
Mhm.
and look at his position in the WWE. So I want people to look at me like that. I never meant it as like a pastiche of like whoever's in the White House.
Yeah.
Just look at who's a leader in a company. Look at, and so I tried to approach it that way. And then I found out the nerve pain I was having. I guess before I figured out what it was, I was like, I need to step away for a little bit
Mhm.
from being active so I can figure what's going on here. And so I started becoming an authority figure, which worked out. I was like, well, I was already saying I was going to be the president of wrestling. Now I'm the general manager of all these other companies. Well, come to find out, I needed neck surgery.
Mhm.
That took me out longer. And it's like,
Wow.
well, all
Yeah.
right. So I think I've ended up being the authority figure for like 8 different companies.
Yeah.
And so like that just sort of caught on in itself. And now
Nice.
so many people know me. Like people start messaging me, hey, Prez.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I'm curious for you, when you first go down and get hurt, what is like your mindset? Obviously, you love wrestling, you want to be involved, but taking that away from the actual getting in the ring, what is your mindset
Yeah.
completely?
I knew I had to be healthy. I knew I had to be
Yeah.
healed. And so that was going to take time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't, it's your neck. I was terrified enough of the fact I needed to have surgery
Yeah.
in my neck. And it really scared me. It took
Mhm.
me a while to get comfortable again, like being back in a ring. And I remember the very first show I did. I was in a battle royal, and I had bumped, and I was like, I'm fine. I had run ropes. The very first time I ran ropes, it was horrible.
Okay.
Because I forgot about the sort of whiplash you get.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was like, okay, I'm better, I'm better, I'm better. And then did this battle royal, and the first time somebody punched me,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I did not expect that quick turn to the side to
Oh,
do me
wow.
in.
Yeah.
And so it just took time. I had to rebuild a lot of strength to be able to do it. Um, and even then, it was like I still have to be so super careful. And so even now, when I do get back in the ring, it's like I really have to be cautious.
Mhm.
There's things that I'm just really mindful of where my neck is,
Yeah.
and yeah.
So I'm curious for you to talk about whether it's wrestling, commentating, being an authority figure. One thing that sticks out about you is the confidence. So I'm curious for you, did you always have it? And if not, how did you build it? Because some people in wrestling, they still can't.
um, then I'm glad everybody buys that.
Yeah.
I think I have what a lot of other wrestlers have, which is like, am I good enough? Am I doing good enough? Well, to be good enough, I have to be good enough. I
Yeah.
have to be the one to step up, and nobody's going to do that for me. So I
Yeah.
have to be the one to really lead that charge.
Nice. What about commentary? Is that something that always interests you?
Not really. And the very very first time I ever did it, I was bad.
Wow.
I was dog ass bad.
Yeah.
I remember I got to PWU and like I said, I wrestled a few times. While I had sprained my wrist, and Kashmir was like, "Well, I want you here. I want you to be part of the show. Have you ever done commentary before?" And I said, "Well, I did it once, and it was bad. Why don't I practice? Why don't I, I got a match. Oh my gosh, it was. I know it was a match from Texas. It was BJ Turner versus another wrestler,
Okay.
and I just talked over it, and I sent it over to him. He's like, "This sounds fine."
Nice.
And so I did commentary on my first show with John House, who's very known in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
And I remember we got done on whatever the first show was, and House looked at me and was like, "You lied to me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You've done commentary before.
Nice.
You're good. You're really good." And I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'm glad I came off confident in this because I didn't think I was."
Yeah. I'm curious for you, how did the opportunity for CZW start for you?
So that came out at a point where PWU had sort of died.
Yep.
And even when it did, I reached out to Kashmir and was like, "Hey, I've been reached out to about helping CZW. What do
Yeah.
you think? What are your thoughts?" Because they were sort of rivals
Yeah.
in the heyday of PW. And PW really got big because Zan did close the door on anybody who was working PWU. And at the
Wow.
time, PW wasn't the spectacle. PW was like a bar show where guys in Philly who weren't working CZW, who were only working CZW, the one time CZW ran a month in Philly or Delaware,
Yeah.
they wanted to have another show. So like they
Wow.
did a bar show in Berwyn.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, if you're going to do that show, you can't be at CZW. And so a
Okay.
few people left. and that sort of helped to bolster PWU. But I will say, and I would say really clearly too, Cashmere's a much different person now
Yeah.
than he was then, and he
Yeah.
knows it. We've talked a lot about it, and what I mean by that is, we got so big, it was almost like we got top heavy. We couldn't keep balance, and that's a big reason why it fell down. It was a big animal to try to keep up.
Yeah.
And so when the opportunity came to CZW, it was, come talk to us about what can you do to help us. And at the time, CZW had a good name reputation, even if sometimes DJ Hyde doesn't.
Yeah.
And it was like, let me look at your show, let me figure this out. And I went to this one show, or my first show there, and I'm expecting, this full packed house. I hadn't been there since the PWU show, and I was like, there's less than 100 people here.
Wow.
Like, what's going on? And like Brody Lee and John Moxley were in the main event, and I'm like, why aren't there more people here? I'm really confused. And I remember the next show after that, which I can't remember what was on that show. It might have been Tangled Web, which would have been this barbed wire across the ring match with Drake Younger, and I'm forgetting his name, also from Indiana.
Okay.
And again, like, a little over 100 this time, but not much. I'm like, okay, you need marketing help, because people just don't know you're here. Because there's no way these shows, and he was bringing in name recognizable folks, especially on the indies, you would have more of a draw if people just knew. And so I helped to build up their social media presence. I helped to just put out word to Wrestling Press and other places. And the biggest thing I first would get back, CGW's running. We thought they had closed.
Wow.
And so that really got attention. And by the third month, there were 400 people there.
Nice. And
we built up to a point where we were getting 600 to 800 on a regular basis just by saying, hey, we're here, because there was never street teaming.
Yeah.
And when the time came when I left, there was not momentum to keep up the marketing in the way that I did it. And there was other things that also happened. And so now they are lucky when they do draw.
Yeah.
80.
Yeah. I'm curious for you, another company you post about all the time. How did MCW start?
So I'm from Maryland.
Okay, yeah.
MCW's here in Maryland. They're probably the preeminent company in the state of Maryland. And they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be in there because they are the biggest company in this area.
Yeah.
And so I reached out, and finally it was sort of like, we want you to talk to our owner. So the owner called me and was like, I think we have the perfect spot for you. We want to bring you in as a general manager. And this was at the point where, like, I hadn't had the neck surgery yet. I knew something was wrong.
Okay.
And I was like, this might be great, because until I physically know what's up.
Yeah, easy drive to everything.
Right. It's within 2 hours, pretty much all of our events. So I was like, this is really going to work.
Yeah.
And it really has. And so the day I got there, my brain is like, I'm coming in to play this character of the general manager. And it was I was treated like the general manager legit from there. Like, what's going on? What's the decision? How are we going to, Phil, what do you think? I walked in the door, and the first person who shook my hand was Ric Flair.
Love that.
Like it was that kind of environment. And I'm like, this is insane. And MCW consistently draws really well. And again, they're in that 600 to 800 crowd range on when they're at their main venue in Joppa, Maryland. When they come to a venue that's near me in Hollywood, Maryland, they're drawing these great crowds. And so it's like they have a recognition to them. They bring in a regular amount of stars from television, from the indies. So people get to know them, and they see like, oh, we might see Shotzi Blackheart's going to be in Dundalk coming up. Oh, we know Shotzi. And they come see, oh, wow, wait a minute. There's some really cool people here. We get to see this really athletic contest. And, I want to come back and check it out the next time and see how it goes. And so they've latched onto a crowd in that respect. And I'm just glad I've been able to be a part of it for as long as I have.
Now, you talk about companies like you've helped from the beginning to the end, like trying to draw more people. I'm curious for you, when you help these companies, I know you do seminars, so we don't got to give away all your secrets. When you do, what is like the first thing you think when companies aren't drawing? What do you think is the number one thing that they're not doing or that you could do to help a company?
So, and I will say I'm not the chief expert. Like, it does depend a little bit. What's your area? Where is your market? How have you tried to reach out? Who have you tried to reach out to? Um, and work through that way, because
Okay.
every area is going to be different. Certainly if you're in a more urban environment, there are more opportunities. If you're in a more rural, well, you might have hit up these neighborhoods or this part of your county. Have you hit up the other part? Have you given free tickets away to the people who talk the most in your community? Have you talked to your police and your firefighters and given them free tickets? Because they'll talk up the show
Yeah.
to their friends and their family and everybody else they sort of collaborate with. I should say collaborate. That's the wrong word,
But
but
yeah,
exist with and talk in their community with. Um, are you sharing it to your mainstream press? And I have gotten more coverage in local newspapers just by reaching out and being like, "Hey, we have an event. Here's information. What can we come and take photos? Can we cover it as a prelude to the event in our entertainment section, and then we'll have photos on the front page of the next week." Sure, that sounds
yeah,
wonderful.
nice. What is Phil Stamper's first ever interaction with Sami Callihan?
um, so we remember two different experiences. So Sami says the
Is
first
Sammy's
time.
like a little flipped, or how does he see it?
So no, he's the thing is, so what's weird in our relationship. I'm obviously the one that's right in my
Yeah, of
relationship.
course.
My relationship with Sami Callihan. In this instance, he was right. So he was wrestling at HWA. He had just started.
Okay.
Heartland Wrestling Association in Hamilton, Ohio, which is just near Cincinnati. And he had seen a picture of me and my gear, and he's like, "Man, you have really cool gear. Where did you get it?" And so he remembers that exchange very clearly. I did not. And I just remember talking to him online and just like, "Hey, man, how are things going? You're doing this great work." He had dropped a lot of weight. He had
Okay.
gone from being like almost 300 pounds out of high school to being the singlet wearing death machine Sami Callihan that we all got to know.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You're doing amazing things. Let me try to help you get bookings out on the East Coast," because I was like, "You need to not just live in Ohio. You need to like get out more." And so that sort of started our friendship. And then when I got to CCW, he was still there. And so it was like we got another opportunity to really connect. And we already, by that point, we'd worked together before on some other shows too. And so, but that was sort of our longest stretch of shows
Nice.
before we went on to the WWE. And we've been able to maintain a friendship ever since.
Yeah.
I'm stalling a little bit because there's this moment in my brain that it's like, Sami as a person, he's my friend.
Yeah.
But there are many times he becomes Sami Callihan, and there's times I really want to punch Sami Callihan in the face.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, we've all played Fortnite with him. We know what it's like.
Oh yeah, I got robbed by him in fantasy football when I was like 12 years old for him. I'm curious for you, does Pro Wrestling Revolver, when does that start for you?
From the beginning.
Nice.
So Sami came to me. We were at by this point, Sami had left the NXT. He was back at CCW, and he came to me as we were setting up for an event. And he says, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I'm thinking of starting up this show called Wrestling Revolver, and I really want you to be a part of it." And he knew I was unhappy about some things at CCW and how things were going. And he's like, "I want to really use you as part of this team." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And so started all of the Revolver social media.
Nice.
Did marketing, did press, and have really helped to build what it is today. I cannot say that I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And Sammy's vision of it really drives it. His and many people don't know, he does the graphic work. He does he's not the videographer taking the video, but he's editing it. And people don't realize, like, he's the one putting out 90% of this visual content of Revolver and the way we look. And he's been very intentional about that. And that's very much part of our identity and very much part of the interest of our draw.
How did he pitch it to you originally? Because Revolver is a company that stands out compared to anywhere. We talk about packed houses, no matter the venue where you guys go, Iowa, Ohio, anywhere. So how was it originally pitched to you?
Initially it was, hey, I'm thinking of starting this thing. I'm not sure what's going to take. And the Revolver name, because it was going to be, I think we even sort of cheesily put it in as our tagline, like, we're the revolving door of professional wrestling, that no two cards were going to be the same. We were going to have this sort of constant influx rotation of different talent to come in. And then, like, because Revolver, and it became more of a little bit of the gun motif, it became a little bit more permanence. And when we started, I mean, the first couple of years, we only had 3 shows a year. And until like maybe into our second year, maybe our third year.
Mm.
And then it was like, well, no. And we had snuck in stories. And then we started to build up more of that. And so now when you look at us, we've become this full-fledged beast
Yeah.
with stories. Yes, there's some talent that's coming in. We have a lot of regular talent. And it's just been an amazing thing to see build since it got started.
Is there a moment or two that sticks out for you for Wrestling Revolver so far?
When I got stabbed in the head with
Yeah.
skewers, that
Yeah.
stands out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sami and JT, for that. That was,
Yeah. Well, speaking of quick, how did the unit start for you?
For a second, I was like, "What is JT here now?" So it actually, before the unit became a thing, a group called Revelation was a thing, and
Okay.
it was Killer Cross, otherwise known as Karrion Cross.
Yeah.
We had a match with JT Dunn, and JT felt like he was getting not all the opportunities he wanted. Killer Cross, not Karrion, felt like JT deserved more, but he needed to put himself in a position to deserve more. And I was at that spot where it was like, I am ready for so much more than just being here. And so the three of us kind of banded together.
Nice.
Eventually, AC Baby, Ace Barrow joined us too. Jessica Havoc joined us. And then the pandemic happens.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting moment in time because that event happened. That was December of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Killer Cross's last event with us because he got signed to the WWE, or was going to be signed by the WWE. I can't remember if we knew that 100% sure, but I think it was in a lot of our minds like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And we had an event on Valentine's Day. And then we were going to Iowa for an event in March. Sami was already in Iowa. They had already set up the ring for the show. And that's when like everything shut down.
Wow.
Like the venue was like, we can't have the show. It was like their lawyers came through and said that if somebody reported that they got sick and they could contact trace it back to the building, that the lawyers wouldn't defend the venue.
Wow.
It was like, okay. So that sort of stopped everything dead motion for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came back, there was still JT and I were chomping at the bit. We wanted something. We wanted to do something. And JT in New England already had some guys.
Yeah, like 20 people probably.
Right. Well, at first, not every.
Yeah. JT, Danny, OG, those a few at first. Yeah.
Right. And so then it was me, JT, a tag team of Tyler Matrix and James Logan.
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally we had some other plugins. We had Jessica Havoc at one point. We had Ace came back really quickly for like one spot.
Larry, I think, was in it too at one point.
Yeah. It looked like he was going to.
Okay.
And then he got signed.
Oh, okay.
And so it didn't go that way. But a lot of the main action of things that happened normally stayed with JT and I.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a big feud, it was a big rivalry that really went against the heads of Wrestling Revolver that culminated in a match that involved Sami.
Yeah.
It was Sami and Jess versus JT and Damian. And to try to save JT from getting stabbed in the head with spikes, I got stabbed in the head with spikes.
What a friend. How did the pandemic treat you? Because obviously you talk about all the companies that you were working for, taking a toll on all these companies. I know some occasionally were running with some regulations, but for you, how was it?
I mean, at first it was like everybody, everything got shut down. I was not in an area where anything could really run. And then I'm trying to remember if it was summer 2020 or if it was 21 that was reached out to about, hey, Phil, we're going to do this weird wrestling thing. We're just getting some wrestlers together. We're going to have a barbecue at somebody's house. We're going to have a ring there. We're going to record it. We're just going to put together this little fun, campy show.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, cool.
Yeah.
So it was a very cinematic taping. The only people who were there were the wrestlers on the card. And it was that first show is what became Camp Leapfrog. And it was so much fun. It was just goofy and ridiculous. in a good way. I don't mean
Yeah,
this like
yeah.
it was in a bad wrestling way, but it was just, and with people who I either knew but hadn't worked with before, um, and got to see a lot of them in a different light. And it was just sometimes we felt like the land of misfit toys because we were isolated, that it was just us and not a live crowd, but at least we had a crowd, we had each other.
Yeah.
We were able to tell some pretty interesting stories because we were able to just dive deep on our own storylines.
Yeah.
We did a really and then after that first show, we were like, we have to do this again.
Mhm.
And so we kept going, and like we did insane, like we had 2 Halloween shows. We had things like Killian Vision, where oh my god, I'm forgetting, Killian McMurphy
Yeah, yeah.
led a team called the Goons and stole a device where we could travel through time.
Love
And
it.
so each match became a different year of time.
Wow.
And so like I was involved in a match in the 70s.
Mhm.
Um, there was a match from the 1920s.
Love it.
Like it was just really cool, and a really cool visual thing that we were able to do during that time. And then slowly other events came back. I think my first event with a crowd I did was in Florida. I worked for a small company called Ignite, that was in a big open brewery space. And
Mhm.
so they were one of the first events back with a live crowd. MCW came back about 2 years later as well, and Revolver did. And so slowly things were coming back, but it did take time.
Nice. You talk about that first interaction with Sammy. He talks about the gear. I'm curious for you. What was the inspiration behind the gear? Because your gear stands out. I love it.
So I I wanted like sort of movement. I didn't want like a big block of color. I didn't want just plain black pants or
Yeah.
red gear. I wanted a design. So what I did was I looked at an amateur wrestling singlet. I think it was called, not the Dart. That Dart was a different one. But there was this straight line angles on the front that were like triangles.
Okay.
So me as I'm 5'7", but I'm also a little larger. I get it.
Okay.
Um, the singlet kind of drew your attention to the middle of the body, so it hid the fact you were a little heavier.
Yeah.
And the shorts I designed were flames, and so like they were solid shorts, but the design on them had like flames at the bottoms of it. So it just again had some movement and different kinds of design in the visual look of it.
Yeah.
And that's what Sammy liked. He's like, it wasn't this plain gear; it had some character to it.
Yeah.
Um, and I've tried to keep that up now. When I just got New Year actually,
Nice.
and I was like, I want something fun. This one was more fun.
Mhm.
I want something that just keeps up an energy that has like keeps your visual attention. So it's a mix of different kinds of patterns and colors, just so it just stayed visually interesting.
Yeah. So when you talk there's one thing right now that everyone loves, obviously, this wrestling calendar. So I'm curious for you, what is the original mindset? Obviously, people say that's not shows in the area, but then you back it up with 17 other ones. So I'm
Right.
curious for you, is this your whole like walk me through this process? Because it's insane.
So when I first started all those years ago, it was really like, what are the local shows that were near me?
Okay.
And that sort of expanded out for a while. And then like around the time of Pro Wrestling Unplugged, it was like, I'm focused on other things. And I stopped. I went back to CZW, or went to CZW, I should say. And there was somebody, was a very known fan in the crowd who was talking to me about there's never any indie events. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's never any independent wrestling events. I never see them. No one talks about them. There's just no shows. I'm like, I see people I'm on social media with posting all the time about the events they're on.
Yeah.
And so I started really with just my friends on Facebook. What shows are they going to? I first started tagging people like, hey, what shows are you on this week? Just to see like what they would say. So I'd add this list. Where it has developed to now is, so I keep a calendar for a whole year at a time on a Google Doc.
Mm-hmm.
I know the ones that are weekly repeating, so those are really easy to plug in for the week. And then as I see random things when I'm scrolling, I plug them in. I go to Facebook. I type the word wrestling. I click on events and I say for next week, and so that helps me to populate more upcoming things. I also have an alphabetical list, so I have a listing of, I think I'm at something like 1,100 companies around the world.
Yeah.
And it's an alphabetical by state and country. So, Alabama's first or whatever.
Yeah.
Start there, and I just go down this list, and I I don't get through the whole list in a week. So
Mhm.
it takes me a few weeks at a time. So I'll just go through the list as much as I can, and that helps to populate the list as well. Not as many people really share with me that they have upcoming stuff.
Okay.
It's more of me really hunting and pecking.
Wow. So how much time does this take per
It's
week?
it's a lot, and it's never enough
Yeah.
because the second I'll go to somebody's Facebook page, their website, their Twitter account, and the second I turn away, if they update, well, I've missed it.
Hmm.
And so just by that, I've missed a lot.
Yeah.
By the fact that, like, let's say all right, I think right now I'm sorting through Tennessee events is where I'm at on my alphabetical list.
Okay.
So that means I haven't touched Texas events in a minute. So there's not as many Texas populated events. Alabama's probably a little bit left out right now.
Yeah.
But North Carolina, I just did a few
Mhm.
weeks ago. So I do sort of hit up different people in different segments of time, and it's not intentional.
Yeah.
It's just I literally can't do everybody every single week, but I'm trying my best.
Have you ever had an interaction of somebody get like pissed off they're not on the calendar or anything like that?
Um, I'm like, do I say the name? Uh,
You don't gotta say the name, but just in general.
I mean, yes.
Okay.
Um, the two ways people have gotten mad at me. Well, one is, hey, you missed me.
Okay.
You didn't put me in. What have I done wrong? It's like nothing. I just
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, what's happening? One of the people who reached out to me at this time, he was working for the WWE and was a promoter. He was not a wrestler.
Okay.
And did I make you mad? Because I don't see my event on the calendar. And I was like, I normally do cover your event. Actually, I see that the last time you had an event was this date. I just did not catch you this time. I'm so sorry. Do you have a listing of your upcoming events? I'll put him on the list right now. Um, and for a little bit, for like 2 months, he was then sending me dates, and then he stopped.
Love that.
And that was my thing too. For a while, I was getting sent in
Yeah.
events. That was really easy. Then okay, I'll add in what people are sending me first. Um, the other one is not so much now. Now I'm pretty on a pretty good pace where I publish something every week.
Yeah.
But there were sometimes when I got too busy. I had it sort of set up in a different way. I used to not have it in a Google Doc. I literally had it in like a text document. I was emailing to myself back and forth.
Yeah.
And like in between meetings at work, I'd like, well, I have 3 minutes. Let me just see what I can find.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't sustainable. And so, like, let's say I missed a week. I was traveling myself, missed something. I would have promoters reach out and be like, why didn't you put up a calendar? You're the only reason anybody knows that we exist.
Wow.
It's like, what? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Some promoters are like, you're our only press mechanism.
Wow.
No.
Yeah. You've had impacts on people.
Which is great. At the
Yeah.
same time, like, I shouldn't be the only.
Yeah. When you talk about impacts, who would you say are like some of your biggest mentors or people who had impacts on you in pro wrestling?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Um, it's really hard to answer because at times I had to come up with a lot of stuff myself on the marketing
Okay.
side of things. Johnny Kashmir is really smart about different ways to market and to go into communities.
Yeah.
Like he would go into when we were at the ECW arena, for example, he would have discount tickets that he would specially get made up and go through the neighborhood that was right near the ECW arena. And on these tickets were basically a flyer for the event. So they're this big of a sheet of paper, like 1/6 of a sheet of paper. That's a flyer that also says $10 off or $5 off, whatever it was, and was peppering that through the community. So within walking distance, people were able to come to the event at a much discounted rate than they wouldn't have normally come,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't have any money coming in. And so that was just really smart way. So Kashmir was always good with that stuff. Drew Gulak has just always been a super intelligent person to talk with about
Yeah.
wrestling. Knowledgeable about being in the ring. He went to college for I'm going to say probably the wrong thing, but either videography or filmography. And so he understands like how the camera looks and how you should look on camera and how you should position yourself visually in a promo. He gets those elements.
Yeah.
And so we vibed really well on some of those production elements of things. And Sami, I mean, like I said, Sami is really genuinely one of the most graphically minded individuals I know. Of what is the look of something? How does somebody who's never seen wrestling before come in and go like, is this cool? Do I want to stay?
Yeah.
Um, is it a wrestling event or is it wrestling?
Yeah.
Like, what is the vibe you get off of the event when somebody walks right in the door?
Nice. I love it. So I'm curious for you. We talk about some of your biggest mentors. What are like some of your most memorable moments throughout your time in pro wrestling so far, you think?
Ooh, um, I adopt people along the way.
Okay.
Just like, hey, I see what you're doing. Like, how can I help you? Just, and even not necessarily me even saying, how can I help you? Just by the nature of conversation.
Nice.
Like, hey, can I talk to you for a moment? And like, I saw this thing. Maybe this other thing will help you.
Yeah.
And only if they want it. Like, I never
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
like shove it down anybody's throat when they don't want to hear it. Um, and sometimes I've had people reach out to me. I had worked on an event with in West Virginia called Real Shoot Wrestling, RSW.
Mhm.
And some of those folks knew that I worked Revolver.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, I always try to be complimentary of people when I see good things. Because I feel like in general life, not even necessarily wrestling, in general life, we don't do that enough.
Mhm.
And so I hadn't been at RSW for a long time, came back. I think actually the pandemic might have actually been why I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And came back for this bigger event that they had at Fairmont State University. And I think it was their anniversary show. And I saw a tag team called the Golden Boys. And I cannot remember for the life of me who they were, but I was like, this was the best match of the night.
Mhm.
And I went up to them and I was like, you guys had the best match of the night. And I was like, don't get me wrong, little things here and there, but by a wide margin,
Mhm.
you guys really stood out for what you did. And one of them has since reached out to me on the regular and was like, can you watch this match and give me feedback? And that means a lot to me that
Yeah.
he's asking me. And it means even more that he implements a lot of what I've suggested.
Mhm.
And I remember at CZW there was a point where somebody came up to me and asked me for feedback on a match, and at that point I was like, "Why are you asking me? Like, who
Yeah.
am I?" And they were like, "Because you've been at CZW now for at that point like 5 years. You've been wrestling for a long time already. Why aren't I asking you?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." And
Nice.
and so that sort of reframed my brain a little bit. But I always try to do it from a place of I'm trying to help.
Nice.
I will be a critic. I will be very open and honest with people because I found I used to soft sell, like
Okay.
instead of like, hey, I saw this. Instead of saying like, hey, I saw this go wrong. Here's what happened. It was like, oh, I know that one thing could have been better, but you're fine.
Oh, yeah.
And focus on just the good stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people need to hear the critique of what's been rough.
Mhm.
Either it's something that's adjustable. Maybe you don't do that again. You do the thing you're really good at, whatever it may need to be. But sometimes people just need to hear it. And when somebody sends me a match, I'm giving them timestamps. I'm like, at this
I
moment,
love
like
it.
103, I saw this go wrong. This is what my perception of is it. And sometimes I'll say like, this could have just been the camera angle, but
Mhm.
and I'm very open in the beginning. Like I'm going to be very open and honest with you. It's not to be criticizing. It's because I found I soft sell. And if I don't deliver it straight, then you're not going to get anything out of it. And if you're okay with that, I will give you feedback.
Nice. Oh, so what is that like for you? Did you eventually want to give back? I saw you were doing seminars at one point. You've been killing it. So is that something? Obviously, you love pro wrestling. You love giving back. So what is that for you?
I do like anything I can do to help people. I'm very cool with doing.
Nice.
The when me doing seminars, like I had done them here and there, but they weren't like a focus of mine to do. And when Drew Gulak and Wheeler Yuta started up Catchpoint in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
Drew reached out to me, and though we had been cool, like I said, I looked up to him a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knows this, but I looked up to him a lot when we were at CZW. But I thought like we got along, but I didn't think we were cool. We were
Yeah.
friends, and he reached out to me and was like, Phil, and he was still with WWE at the time. He's like, Phil, I want you to come up and do a seminar because you're doing submission hold Sunday videos,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
like these videos are really cool. People don't see moves like this normally. I want you to teach that to my guys and gals. And I was like, oh, okay,
Nice.
cool. And so I had figured I had already gone through a couple little seminars here and there. So I was like, I think I have a way I'm going to frame this. And then there was an interest in bringing me back, and it was, well, what else can I do that's different than just submission stuff? And it was like, I know how to be in front of a camera. I know how to be in front of a microphone. I know how to talk to people. Why don't I talk about how do you not only just do promos, but how do you put your whole persona of a wrestler through everything you do? Your promo, the way you walk to a ring, the way you work a match. And what I was seeing, especially from a lot of new wrestlers, and this is not being me being mean to anybody. It's just the way it is you're people are so worried about the mechanic of it. You know, am I grabbing the arm just right? Am I doing this thing just right? And that they forget that when they walked to the ring, they had a persona. They had a character that they were trying to make sure the crowd knew about. And when they got to the ring, they lost it. Some people, I shouldn't say everybody, but some people. And so that became a big focus of how do you keep that persona that you want you to have through everything you do.
Wow.
And so I started to develop that too. So now I have a couple stock workshops that I can do for people when they want it.
Nice. I'm curious for you to talk about giving back, but do you have any goals in pro wrestling nowadays?
You know, for me, I'm past the point where it's like I'm gonna make it to the WWE.
You never know.
Right. I mean, you're right. You never know.
Yeah.
In my life, though, when I started being, I was short. I was 5'7" in a world that was still very much predominated by people over 6 feet tall. And so I was like, you know, if I make it, it'll be great. I'll probably end up in the back. I'll probably be a talker, which is fine. But I always felt you had to have this in-ring experience so people understood. They don't think that you're just you're a nobody coming off the curb. Like, you know what you're doing and how to handle yourself. But the landscape behind the scenes in wrestling at that level has changed too. The number of people who are agents at the WWE who are former wrestlers or producers who are former wrestlers, which makes sense. And I'm glad those opportunities are there because they weren't there before. And so for me, it's like, well, I've not been to that stage, so I'm not necessarily probably going to get some of those roles.
Okay.
I applied for a staff job once with the WWE, and it was to be the behind the scenes business general manager for NXT when they first started.
Yeah.
And I had outside of wrestling life, I had another career experience, so I was like, this will help build me up for it. And like within a week of the posting, they had announced the former general manager of ESPN is now the manager for NXT, and I was like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know I'm coming from a limited view. Again, I hope there would be an opportunity. That'd be great. Of course, that'd be an amazing thing. But you just never know. So for me, what it is now is, well, what's next? What is the next thing? You know, I know things that might happen at Pro Wrestling Revolver.
Nice.
So like, or the Wrestling Revolver. I can't believe I said pro. I'm always correcting people. It's the Wrestling Revolver. That you know, maybe I know about one. Maybe I'm going to be a part of that. And that's going to be where my attention is, because that's where I'm living right now. That I can't live for the opportunity that might come to do something maybe with a WWE, a TNA, a MLW, wherever it may be. But I can't. Yeah, I just can't live beholden to that anymore.
Nice.
Right now, for me as a person, about a year ago, I tore my ACL in my left leg, and the recovery has not gone well.
Wrestling?
At a wrestling event, but not from wrestling.
Okay.
I was setting up for a Wrestling Revolver event and took a wrong turn on a ladder.
Wow.
So tore my left ACL. I'd previously torn my right one. And this one, they went in and they cut a nerve. And so the recovery has just been long. And so to the point that back in April, I had gained some weight, and I was like, I knew I had gained it. I felt it. I looked it. I was like, I need to get back in the gym, and I overdid it. And I was like, I think I retore my ACL again. To the point that I don't know if I did or not, but the doctor sent me back to physical therapy. And so since early June, I've been in physical therapy, and I actually go, of all the timing for it, I go Sunday night for an MRI.
I didn't even know they were open at that time. Yeah.
I didn't either. I was really shocked, but I go Sunday night for an MRI to find out what is going on with the knee. Because it should be further along. And I've had matches in the last few months. And so it's like, I can do stuff. I'm apparently not aggravating it to this point where it can't function, but something isn't right. Something isn't, and I decided I also just general health and well-being. I had a really good friend pass away who was in his 40s, wife, 2 kids. Woke up one morning, was not feeling well. They ended up calling an ambulance, and he passed away in the ambulance from a heart failure. And so that made me like, okay, where am I at? Like,
Yeah.
what's happening? And so I reached out to Anthony Henry,
Hmm.
and he is now offering mentoring for gym plans and nutrition plans. And so I was like, I need something very different. And he since July 9th, that was the last time I weighed myself before I started down this path. I have, as of today, I've lost 30 pounds.
That's congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm like, okay. And I haven't really talked about it to many
Yeah.
people. So some people know, some people don't.
Nice.
That I'm hoping, because I also haven't had events in the last couple of weeks. So I'm kind of hoping when I go next to Revolver
Hmm.
on September 6th, I show up in Iowa and people are like, didn't we just see you? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
which might be nice. Like that
Yeah.
at least boosts my ego a little bit. So for me, it's like I have to be healthy. But even being back in the ring, I was very happy to Johnny asked me to come back for a match at SPO. I think it was what ended up being the last. Oh no, yeah, the last
Yeah. The
SP,
last one.
the
Yeah.
next to last
Okay.
one, because there was one more after. Oh no, it was
I
the
think
last
it was
one.
the
I'm
last
sorry.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I think we announced we were gonna have one, and then unfortunately had to cancel or something like that.
Yeah.
So did that one, and I felt okay moving around. By that point, I had been back in the gym, but I was like, I still know something's wrong. I still know I'm way too big. Um, but having the opportunity to be back in the ring a little bit, I was like, all right, I feel comfortable.
Nice.
And for the first time in the way I hadn't since my neck surgery, and certainly not since my knee surgery. So I was like, okay, I need to move this forward.
Yeah.
But even if I don't, even if it's like I don't have as many wrestling opportunities, like in ring competitive opportunities anymore, I just need to be healthy. Like
Nice.
that's a big thing for me that I need to keep in mind. And even if it's to be a personality, to be that authority figure for more companies, okay, I have to look the part. And we're in a day and age. This is on television, and you're in 4K.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it has to be this way.
For sure.
Uh, randomly, actually, I'm looking at myself really quickly because these teeth are fake. Uh,
Wow.
um, I have a stomach issue. The When I said I had Barrett's esophagus before and
Yeah.
it was wrong, I still have the issue that they thought was
Yeah.
Barrett's, and so it unfortunately sent a lot of acid and burned a lot of my teeth up, and they looked bad. They just
Hmm.
looked bad, and I was like, I think I need to do something to invest in myself that will get rid of this visual stigma. And even if other people didn't notice it, I noticed it.
Nice.
And there's this one promo shot of the unit. Alley Catch was another member of the
Okay.
unit.
Yeah.
And it's like JT walks by, Allie walks by, I walk by, and you see Allie first, I think, actually, and she's smiling, all pure white teeth. Camera turns to me, very much not.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I was like, this sucks. And then it happened that my next dentist appointment, I went in and I had chipped a tooth all the way from the bottom to the root.
Wow.
And it was just from a wear down of the enamel from the amount of acid my system was putting up. So it's like I need to do something different. So I have focused a lot on how is my mic voice? How do I come off? How do I focus a little bit more on this element of talking?
Yeah.
Because that may be what my future is in wrestling.
Yeah. Well, Phil, you're an absolute legend. I told you this months ago. I reached out to you. I'm so glad we made it happen. However, I've ended every interview the same. Now, the day you decide it's all done with pro wrestling, which obviously is nowhere happening anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done, what do you want Phil Stamper's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
Ooh. Hopefully somebody that left it a lot better than it was when I came in.
Nice.
And I'll say when I first got into wrestling, there was always that like, is this a seedy place? Is this a bad
Okay.
place to be?
Yeah.
I wanted to see if wrestling was a place I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And by working at the places I did, I was like, okay, yeah, I do. I want to keep moving forward. That doesn't mean there have not been times when I've seen bad things happen.
Yeah.
But it's like, so how can I make it better? I remember one lesson my dad taught me as a kid is like, if you work a job, leave that day better than you came into it.
Nice.
And like that has stuck with me a lot. And so like I do the calendar. When I did the calendar at first, it was really because promotions are bad at promoting.
Yeah.
And so let's let fans know where they can find wrestling. The secondary effect of that is wrestlers are using it to also find bookings.
Wow.
And so it's like, well, that's great. So that was a very positive impact that I know I make on the regular. It's a lot of work, but I see a positive that comes out of it that people seem to like and enjoy.
Yeah. I'm curious for you, what's the next step for Phil Stamper? You talk about trying to be a personality. Do you have an end goal in pro wrestling, or just trying to make it better than it was?
So I guess it depends a little bit on the place.
Okay.
Because
Nice.
MCW is a place that's very family friendly. I've always been the perennial good news general manager at MCW, with a couple of exceptions. Here and there I might lose my temper.
Yeah.
At I almost said the Pro Wrestling Unplugged. I was blending Revolver and Unplugged
Yeah.
together in my brain. I do that actually a lot for some random reason.
Yeah.
At Revolver, I've taken on a very I came in very chipper authority figure, and that crowd ate me alive and hated it. They booed me out of the building. Meanwhile, Matthew Palmer was probably the most dastardly heel, and the crowd loved him. And so we ended up sort of flopping, and I became the I know what's best for everybody here, whether you like it or not. It's going to make things better, even if it makes me better in the process. And that was sort of how Phil Stamper, the Wrestling Revolver, sort of came up. And now I'm on the side of everything's good and right. But there are times when it's really easy to want to slip back into that mode of being the unit's Phil Stamper again.
Nice. Well, Phil, thank you so much for doing this, man. Long time coming. I'm glad we made it happen, from playing Fortnite to doing this, man.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Phil, for doing this. And thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.